First and foremost, I'm Kaya Paul. I'm from Washington here. Roots is, Pacific Northwest Roots is our brand. And I guess we should lead by giving thanks that we're on this sacred land and recognizing the indigenous people that were here before us, and that we need to become better stewards of the land, and that's a great way to honor them and their traditions. So give thanks to the indigenous folks here up in the Northwest, and give thanks to the Most High for bringing us all here safely, and for our love, shared love of the ganja plant, the medicine it gives us, the consciousness lift that it provides for us. These are all really like at the heart of what we're doing here, beyond your Mylar bags and hype things that are really like pervasive in the space right now. So I just want to push out that heartical message from the beginning. And I get a little emotional about it because it means everything to me. And I know there's a couple of you guys out there, probably more than a couple, that it means everything to you. It's saved your life, it's changed your life, it's provided for you, your family, people that are broken. So I just think it's always important that we honor that and have that intention set, like from the jump, And I want to shout out Dragonfly Earth Medicine and my brother Nicholas Mahmood over here from Green Source Gardens. I went to the Living Soil Symposium in Oregon years ago, and it was really like, there was maybe double this many people, all farmers, and it was such a life-changing event. And about that time, I was having young kids, and I changed to, I was a cash cropper, and I changed to regenerative farming, because I wanted to have a safe environment for my kids to be in, and it actually helped heal some health problems that I was having. I learned that, like the same microbes in your stomach are the same ones that are in the soil, and the way that you uptake nutrients is the same way that a plant uptakes nutrients. And I can get into that in depth with you guys a little later, but just to kind of know that like that's the foundation for the connection that we have, and that's why we love the herbs. That's why we love the terps. Those terps are the plant's recipe. That's how it calls in pollinators and pushes away predator things. And you just got to understand, like, all that's really connected. So the fact that you're here in this room, you're participating in that big connection. We're going to do a seed swap on Sunday. I really like to always talk about, that's a very old tradition that pushed people around the world. Trading spices and seeds came with them. Sometimes they ban seeds, which is really like an evil thing to do. But if you're trading seeds, if you're popping seeds, you're a part of that livity that's existed for hundreds of years. And so keep that tradition going in a good way. That's also kind of important when you're thinking about interacting with your seeds and how all that works. So thank you, hashtag. It's neat to see people in the space pushing forward technology for us. And it's important that we support those kind of people, because otherwise you just get repurposed things, and we really need something that's built by us and for us, because it's going to serve us the best. And that's also true of who you support when you're spending your dollars on hash. There's a lot of people moving into the market space, a lot of the same corporate guys that were pushing DHO, and really it's just a money grab for them. So try not to support those folks. Put your money where your mouth is, put your money where your heart is. Spend with people that have good intention, that have been around for a while, that are really doing things for the community and the culture, and not buying doctors their third house in California and weird stuff like that. Shout out Mothership for having us out here. This is a really special spot. What a cool space. And Mothership is just an integral part, again, of our culture, of really like at the heart of what we're doing. And
shout out Master Joe.
Yeah, shout out Master Cho. There you go. If you don't know who Master Cho is, look him up. It's really awesome. My wife is from Kona, Hawaii, And I got turned on to Korean natural farming through my good friend Logan Sisley. He's got a business out there called Conscious Rhythms. It's like they sell glass and wax, and it's a really cool cultural spot in Kona if you ever get out there. And I would go visit, and he taught me, hey, you gotta learn this new farming technique. And then when the classes came to the mainland, I got in and I went to a Drake class, and I went out to Idaho to see Chris Trump do one of his first classes. And I don't know if you've been to Idaho. I got brothers that are in Idaho. I just was out there, and they don't like weed at all. Weed's bad, guns are okay, it's cool, but weed, not at all. Weed's dangerous. Korean natural farming, breaking into the space, and Nicholas talks really a lot about the magic in regenerative farming, and really letting your land do the work, and being a steward of it, and feeding the land and feeding those microbes, instead of this kind of monoculture, pour salts on the earth, and that whole thing that really is just kind of like a downward spiral. So as it relates to cannabis, we started implementing. First it was just, I was a deep water culture guy back in the day, and then I got that system out when I started breeding and switching over, and I found organic soil was just an easier way to get a read on, 100 plants in a room. You can find out who's hungry, who's not. It was just a more measured response that I could get from the plants. And going forward, I got to learn how to take that a step further and do things regeneratively, and how I can build soilscapes, and we started doing that on our little farm. And then we got the opportunity to buy a farm out in Tahuya. My buddies and I bought it, and we got a great deal on it because so many farms had failed. And immediately, it was just basically glacial till, and immediately we went out there and put in Hugo beds, and we would order the engineered soil from Sensi Sai Organics, and we'd bring it up, and we'd run it in our we literally had 200 amps of service. It was like a trap row, and on 5 acres with this big barn, and we had to build it out room by room. And then after we used the soil, we'd take it outside and dump it, and just kind of created this little closed loop for ourselves. And this will be year 3 of our Hugo beds, and I mean, if you guys follow the Instagram, they shut me down, but there's a new one up, and the plants are just super healthy. And that's allowed us to survive in the 502 space, because we bring our cost of production way down. If you're constantly filling, and even the indoor rooms, we've got beds in there, so we're not constantly filling pots and moving them around anymore. And once you can do that, you can save so much labor. The Hugo beds are just a lifesaver, We take that product and we make it into the highest end. We take really good care of how we process it. And I can get into that specific process with you. But we're able to take that super low-end cost and then turn it into, honestly, I think it's one of the higher-end hashes on the market. And especially in a market where the flower prices are really bad. It's really depressed. People are shutting down. Some of these producer processors have multiple big spots that they run, and they're shutting them down because the market is so saturated. But we're having no problem selling our hash, because the whole game has always been about high grade. That's what everybody wants, that's what they're seeking, that's what keeps us going, that's what keeps you popping seeds and pheno hunting. It's something new. So I think that little niche is just gonna grow and grow. So the farm that we have, again, it's 5 acres. We've got indoor grow rooms. We've got 3 24 light indoor grow rooms. We've got a fully automated light depth. It's like, I want to say 3,000 square feet. This year we've got, it took a while to get the right amount of selected clones, get them propagated where you can fill out these big, huge, areas with X amount of plants, and everybody's healthy and happy. So this year we've really been able to dial in our menu, which is super key, having consistency. But those Hugo beds really save us a lot of money. And having them indoor is also a huge savings, again, on labor, and I think the product is better. So when I'm washing material, I've been washing hash for a long time, and I think the cell structure of the plant when you're growing with microbes it's stronger. It holds up better in the water. It's slower to release the chlorophyll. So anything that you can do to strengthen that part of the plant, it's going to turn out in the wash. Besides, I think, you know, the terpenes are better, but, you know, just as far as the plant itself holding up in the wash, you know, using those methods, those natural methods, I think produces a stronger, more resilient plant, even once it hits the water. So we cut the plants down, and we basically have like an assembly line. They're super fast. My crew is just super fast at it now. So they're breaking it down into the smallest form on these, and they can only do it 1 layer thick, so they're not allowed to pile it up. Once the cookie sheet is full, we run it into the walk-in freezer where we've got racks, and then we just slide them in on the racks, and essentially it's getting flash frozen. We prefer to have it in there for 48 hours. At that point, you can bag it up, and then store it on the shelf, tag it up. If you're washing at home and doing the home washes, think about this: when you're cutting that plant down, it's warm. You know, even if you let it sit in the dark, there's heat to it. So if you put it in your turkey bag and close it and put it in your freezer, you're going to get some condensation coming out, and that's not so good for your yields or for your terps. That's where that swampy smell. You're like, I grew great, smelled great. I froze it. I thought I froze it right. I washed it. It smells swampy. It's because you probably did that in the bag, and then if that water freezes on the outside, your yield just tanks. So if you are doing it in a bag, just keep the bag open until it cools down. You can even have a gentle freeze if you want, and then you can close it, or let it freeze all the way and then close it up. So once we get it frozen down like that and get it bagged up, then it goes into the washroom. We do hand washes. I also operate machines. I got space for this big one. I'm trying to convince my buddies to go in on it. I like that you can do so much in this machine. Like, I worked it this morning by myself. And, I think I could probably do 3 times what 2 of us are doing in a day now with that machine. So that's pretty impressive. Once we're done washing it, we usually take the 90U first pull and scoop it out, and then I put it on like a little wicking station. So I lay out some paper towels, and then we lay out a drying screen. Let it wick a little bit, and this is in a climate-controlled room. You know, if it was this warm, I wouldn't do it. We use the cool bots on mini splits. And then again, once it's wicked a little bit, we just sieve it out onto parchment paper on the cookie sheets, back onto the racks, and then we actually have a room that's dedicated to drying that, air drying it. We try to keep it around 40 for temperature and relative humidity. Sometimes it fluctuates, but generally that's about it. And we let it sit for about 2 weeks. And then everything else past the first wash gets put into the freeze dryers. And then once it's done, we collect that and store it in the walk-in until we're ready to press it. And generally we're pressing the week before to fulfill the next week's orders. I prefer fresh press, but we're going to release some new brands that are cold cures and whips. For long-term storage, you can store rosin in a freezer. That's okay. A week maybe in the fridge, or a little longer, but it's something I prefer to have done fresh. An interesting thing is, when we do the fresh press, sometimes our grams, when you turn them upside down, they'll get little terp dots in them. And I know they're terp dots because I had some people call and complain, "Hi, I got this gram and it's got this dot in it. What is this shit?" And so I took some back from a store that had some dots, and we did a test. We went in and we scooped that little dot out and collected like a bunch of them and sent that into the testing company, and then we sent in the other hash that was in the same jar. And those little dots were twice as high in terpenes. The rec market's kind of weird. It's not like, it's a little bit different, They like different strains in the rec market compared to, this. I think the people in this room are kind of like the advanced guard of hashish, right? Like, we like new stuff, and we're on that edge. And the vast majority of people haven't seen as much hash as we have. So they're probably still smoking Blue Dream, and that's okay. That's totally okay. We'll get them on to the next thing. But so visual appearance to them sometimes is like, that's the first thing. It's like food, right? Like you eat it with your eyes first. So
guys, give it up for us.
Yeah, thank you.